I've got to get to this Proud Boys sentencing situation. Enrique Tarrio, 39 years old. He's a Floridian of Cuban descent, former Proud Boys leader. This is in connection with the January 6th trials that we've seen ongoing. Just got the longest sentence handed down to date. He was sentenced to 22 years in prison. When I heard this, the first thought I had was he hit a cop. He attacked a cop. He's one of those guys with the flagpole beating a cop. Like that, okay, he planned something terrible and then he went in there and assaulted a police officer. No. He did allegedly plan. They alleged that he conspired to prevent, hinder, and delay the certification of the Electoral College vote and to oppose by force the authority of the government. Accused of recruiting others to take part in and assembling a group of nearly 200 people to the Capitol, that he posted messages to his followers, including things like, proud of my boys and my country and don't effing leave, day of Jan 6th, had a 9-page strategic plan to storm government buildings in Washington on January 6th that were found in his possession after the riot. He wasn't there. He did not go, but he allegedly planned. And so the reason they got him to 22 years is they gave him a terrorism enhancement. I'm not supporting or defending what he did, but 22 years, Jonna?
Yeah, I'm also quite surprised by it, but I guess I'm surprised by it and I'm also upset by it. And again, not defending what he did at all, but the double standard just immediately smacks me in the face with this because I live in the New York City area. I work in the New York City area. I've seen a lot of, quote, peaceful protests that weren't so peaceful. Nobody's getting 22 years behind bars. And, I struggle with that. And everybody's First Amendment right to stand up and rise up and express themselves in ways that they disagree with what's going on. And the total double standard here just doesn't make any sense to me. And again, it's infuriating.
We just had news this week, David, that in New York, the police are now agreeing to reform their protest tactics in a settlement over the George Floyd protests. That now, because all these protesters complained about how the police handled their riot, that the cops now have to have different levels of response. They need several tiered systems of protest response that prioritize de-escalation. And under the lower tier response, the default for most protests, the NYPD must now accommodate street demonstrations, including those that obstruct traffic, and use community affairs officers trained in de-escalation. You can't even send numerous police officers until certain bad behavior by the protesters has been evidenced and recorded. They got $35 million from the New York City officials because of their alleged claims of police misconduct. This also happened, what was it? It was just out in Denver. They settled with police protesters in the George Floyd thing for $4.7 million. The protesters in the George Floyd stuff are getting paid millions. The protesters on January 6th are getting 22 years in prison.
Yeah. And how many cities have made huge settlements with the Antifa rioters that went around and burned down and destroyed cities in the summer of 2020 over political issues? Political issues. They did not go to jail. At least a lot of them didn't. They rather banded together and convinced far left city leaders to pay them out millions. I mean, clearly, Megyn, in New York, the inmates run the asylum. I mean, there's no other way to put it. If you can't use law enforcement in a way that will deter and in a way that will significantly intimidate the bad guys, then there's no point in having law enforcement. This is, the January 6th thing in D.C., giving him 22 years. I've had people commit murder that don't get that much time, Megyn. Attempted murder that don't commit that much time. Wow. Carjacking, bank robbery, rape. I mean, this is purely political. There's no other way to look at it. And I fully suspect, Megyn, that a lot, maybe if not all of them, will be pardoned once President Trump assumes office again in January of 2025.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if they're having the book thrown at them for political reasons, then a political solution would be the answer. The prosecution wanted 33 years. My God. Junk science. That's what the doctor called many of those fruit and vegetable supplements on the market. Junk science because they use extracts of common produce department fruits and veggies with few health benefits. But I want to tell you about Field of Greens. Field of Greens is different. They use the whole organic fruit and vegetable, not a watered down supplement. And it's backed by a better health promise, which I'm going to tell you about. Each ingredient in Field of Greens was scientifically chosen to support vital organs like heart, lungs, and kidney health. Others support your immune system, blood pressure, metabolism, and healthy weight loss. Their better health promise is simple. The next time you're at the doctor for a checkup, if the doc doesn't say, hey, you're looking healthier than before, you get your money back. That's a deal right there. So let me get you started with 15% off. Visit fieldofgreens.com and use my promo code MK. That's promo code MK at fieldofgreens.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.